All right, welcome everybody to another episode of the Inside in Tennis podcast. Mitch Michals here again. All part of the Believe Network is this show. A lot of great content on Believe. Podcast is available in audio and video form, audio on all your platforms, and the video is at the YouTube channel Mitch Michals. As we are rounding up the tennis season, end of October, getting into November at the end of this weekend. Paris Masters, will be Tour Finals, Davis Cup, Next Gen, all the good stuff along the way. To recap last week and to discuss the storylines, this episode's guest, an ATP writer, friend of the show. He's covered a lot of extensively the tournaments, especially the young players who he knows very, very well. Sam Jacot, welcome back to the show. Sam, it's good to have you back on. Always a good time to talk tennis.
Yeah, thanks, Mitch. The season, well, never stops, but thankfully it does stop in about 2-3 weeks' time. But no, it's a busy period for sure with Turin round the corner. You've obviously got WTA Finals next week, and then wrapping up men's tennis at the moment with Paris this week. So yeah, lots going on, but a good exciting time to be involved.
Well, the first thing I was going to ask, I was thinking about this too, based on the results last week, and not just recency bias of the last weekend, but the full year. As someone that covers the young players, do you kind of feel almost like a little bit of like a proud father or older relative with all the success they've had? We saw Fonseca win. We've seen Mensik have a good year. Werner Tien just keeps lighting it up, but it has to feel a little special for you knowing that you got to cover these players before they broke off and really shined on the pro level.
Yeah, it's nice. I kind of think back to last year when we were in Jeddah for the Next Gen Finals, and I do it most years really. On final night in Jeddah, we kind of discuss about the guys who we've seen this week and think, well, how's he going to do the next year, or who's going to be someone's pick? So obviously last year everyone was saying about Fonseca after he won Jeddah. The ceiling, the sky seems so high. We'll come on to him, but obviously he's had a great year. But yeah, really impressed with learning Tien this year. Straight away made a massive mark in Australia with the fourth round run. Youngest guy to reach the fourth round, I think, since Rafa there. So that's not a bad start to the year. And then Mensik, to do what he did in Miami was amazing. He's tailed off a little bit. I think that just shows the length of the season. First year on tour for these guys, or Mensik second year, first year, second year.
Yeah.
It's a lot to adjust to. But yeah, it's great to see. It's great to see the success that a lot of the next gen guys have first year in tour. So yeah, hopefully we'll have something similar in 12 months.
Yeah, funny, Mensik, he finished the year top 20, still had a great season. And Monday, as we record this on a Tuesday, but Monday in Paris, I saw the stat, the American men went 1-6. It was just Werner Tien that got the only American victory. So he's been special. I don't know, as a bit of a historian, Sam, I don't know if this is normal in general or just hasn't happened recently, but I do feel like younger players, like this year especially, having so much success is a little bit out of the realm of what we're used to. Do you think that's a part of just the development system? This might just be a special class, or even a step further, how good the challenger and depth of the game, how good those levels are?
I think the depth of the game is a big one. It's so deep now. College tennis and that route now is providing quite a big kind of pathway in. Lerner, Tien played college tennis, Basel already. So I think that kind of success of that pathway is sort of translated into the young guys, and they're playing a lot of matches, competing a lot, because college tennis is obviously very competitive, big, want to win a lot of pressure already. So that probably helps when they're adjusting, coming straight onto tour at 2021 rather than just playing the junior stuff. I think as well it's a little bit about the era, a little bit in sense of, with Djokovic, Rafa and Roger, Djokovic is not stopped yet, but they're on the way out and / retired. And we've kind of seen maybe not a weaker era, but Medvedev aside and Zverev aside a bit, Tsitsipas is now struggling a little bit, Rublev. I think there is opportunity there. I don't think they're coming into an era like we'd seen maybe 10 years ago when a young guy comes on and you've got Roger, Rafa, Novak, Andy Murray, all these guys right at the top who are going to clean up all the Masters. I think it opens up a little bit. And they just play with so much freedom. Like Fonseca just plays with so much freedom in finals, I've noticed, in the short amount he plays. So I think it's a combination of the depth of the game, the college path being good, and the era that we're in.
Yeah.
Just being maybe slightly weaker, apart from Alcaraz and Sinner, obviously.
The final thing is a good point you bring up, because if you don't have scar tissue early, you can just kind of keep that freedom and confidence. Like Fokina, for example, and I know the last final was different than the other ones, right? Like he hasn't won the title, he's lost in a bunch of finals. You would agree that like Sunday he just got outclassed. Like Fonseca was just tough to beat that day. But when you lose a couple finals, I mean, Felix had this early in his career. It can be hard to shake off the scar tissue of not having done it, and the only memories you have are bad ones.
Yeah, for Fokina, if we use him as an example, he wasn't really in the final on Sunday.
Hmm.
I covered it. He didn't. It never felt like he was really got his foothold in the match. And then when you go back and you have championship points against Kecmanovic, which he did, and then championship points against Dimonor, and you've never won a title, that definitely has to play on your mind. And then, yeah, on the bigger picture, like think about the scar tissue that Tsitsipas has accumulated
Yeah,
over the years. Zverev, we can see it again with the Sinner defeat that we'll probably touch on.
yeah.
Yeah, Rublev, all these guys, they've just taken, beating after beating after beating by the top guys for so many years. So when you come on and you're fresh, and Mensik's playing Djokovic in a final, and he's not really sure what to expect, and it rains
Yeah,
for 9 hours before they get on court, and he goes, "Well, I'm just going to go and swing." Whereas
right.
Rublev or Zverev, all these guys might be thinking back to previous defeats. So yeah, definitely a key point.
Well, it was Joao Fonseca winning the Basel indoor tournament, his second of the year, getting right into it. His first 500 level. It's the first 500 level title for a Brazilian since Curtin and Indian Wells 22 years ago. There's a lot of poetry and there's a lot to get into this match going forward. But I was struck too, Sam, by the stat of, top 30 debut, 19 years, 2 months, the exact same as Djokovic, Federer, and Murray. So some symmetry there with some maybe future greats. But as far as this match goes, there's just something different when he's feeling it, when he's really playing his best, when that forehand is buzzing. It's palpable what he's able to do. And I kept coming back to the word avalanche. It feels like an avalanche is falling on you when you're out there against Fonseca and he's just buzzing like he was on Sunday.
Yeah, I think he hit 27 or 28 forehand winners across the two sets. The indoor conditions, like I saw him up close in Jeddah indoors last year. I think they suit him quite well because he's got such an explosive forehand, and then the elements don't really impact his backhand and serve, which are improving, but there's still work to be done. He's just got so much off that forehand. That the forehand down the line is so big, and I saw on social media people saying, "Oh, the hot shots or highlights of Fonseca are always the same, just a massive forehand down the line." But okay, he hits that shot a lot, but players can't really do much against it. So I haven't got a problem if he's hitting the same plays fairly consistently if they're having an impact. What we've seen with Fonseca this year is it's very natural for a young guy's consistency. Some weeks I've seen him play and the forehand's just flown and he hasn't had control of it. But yeah, as you said, when he has control of that strike, it's one of the biggest shots in tennis already, and it's going to do so much damage. And yeah, he just suffocated Alejandro Davidovich Fokina throughout the whole match, using that shot, running around it, big plays, simple indoor tennis, isn't it? Serve +1, serve into the forehand, and yeah, he didn't really look like he was ever going to lose. So
No.
yeah, I was very impressed.
No, it was something special to see. I think, part of it too that stood out to me, Sam, was how fresh he is. We talk all the time and we'll continue to talk about how long the season is and the tank could be on empty, but he looked spry, he looked fresh, and whether he does maybe whether he has this endless amount of energy, or probably the more likely answer is that he's been smart about when to conserve energy, when to take breaks, how to manage his body. It's pretty special to see that too. And you also really forget a lot with all the pressure and expectation and how long we've been talking about him, that he is just a kid until you see the trophy celebration and he's kind of embarrassed his mom's giving him a kiss on the cheek. So I thought that was cool too.
Yeah, there's 2 points there. If we start with the scheduling stuff, yeah, he didn't play in Asia, which I remember at the time people were saying, "Oh, is it the right call or not?" But yeah, it's I think it's shown it's the right decision here because he looks so fresh. He hadn't played much tennis competitively for the
Mhm.
past 3 4 weeks. A lot of these guys are like on fumes at this stage of the year, especially the guys chasing down Turin points where they just kind of try and
Yeah.
go every week. So yeah, good smart scheduling and back that up with a very nice moment with his with his mum. His parents were meant to. He said this on court. His parents were meant to fly in for Paris this week, and then took a last minute diversion to Basel, like an hour before he said, so they could be in the stand to watch him in that final. And his mum's travelled with him since since he was 11. I met her last year in Jeddah when Nadal was there for the PIF, and Fonseca was with Nadal, and I was speaking to his mum, and she was just kind of starstruck by the whole thing. She said, "I can't believe Zhao's with Rafa," and I said, "Well, we'll get used to this."
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a really nice moment. And then there was the kiss on the cheek, as you say, where he kind of pulls away to show that he's still so young. But yeah, really impressed with how mature he is with his scheduling. It's a big point.
Well, what do we think's next, and what do we think's a reasonable expectation? Everybody has talked about the talent that this young man has, and the potential to be not just one of the best, but the best, and to etch his name in history. But if we just look on the next year standpoint, he's going to end the year top 30. There's going to be opportunities going forward. Is it reasonable to think, okay, next year the breakthrough is pushing for a top 10 ranking? Is there a number on it? Is there things that he has to do, Sam, to get to certain points in improvement? What do we think 2026 could look like for Joao Fonseca?
I think top 10 would be an unbelievable year. I think if he can halve his ranking, and sort of get around 15, the 15 mark, maybe a little bit lower towards 10, that would be great. Jannik Sinner, I think, had a similar path where he finished around similar sort of ranking that Fonseca is now at the same age, and then the next year he finished at number 10, or he got into the top 10. So if you're looking at someone to try and follow a little bit, I think Sinner's the one, because Alcaraz is just a freak of nature. What he did at his age is unheard of. So with Fonseca, there needs to be continued patience, though. Like, he's going to have off weeks. But the main thing, I think, in terms of his improvement, he's got to, obviously coaches will know more than me about changes to his backhand, and he can get better around the net. But he just needs to continue to learn the grind of the tour, learn how to play, different guys each week, different styles. You're not going to play maybe on the Challenger Tour or when he was younger, junior stuff, where, a Challenger guy comes up against that forehand and almost just sort of falls over. These guys are going to, they're going to take the knock and go, okay, what else have you got? What else have you got? So I think it's just trying to, I guess, continue to get the reps in on tour, go around the calendar again, play these Masters again, play 500s again. And just continue to improve and learn. And I think if he can get to number 10 this time next year, that'll be an unbelievable effort.
If he gets even just a tad bit more consistency on that forehand too, watch out. It's scary. Yeah. There's a lot of opportunities. It's cool to be on the rise and to be watching this young man and this young player as he makes his ascent. So we'll see what happens with Joao Fonseca. Moving along, though, here on the Inside in Tennis podcast, we also had a great thrilling final in Vienna. Jannik Sinner defeats Alexander Zverev 3 sets, 7-5 in the third to win a title on home soil. He's racking up titles, but this match had a lot of everything. And I guess I want to start with the loser, Sam, because Alex Zverev kind of called his shot before and said, this is a test for where my level is. He didn't win, which obviously there's no real moral victories in tennis, but I was pleasantly surprised that there was more competitiveness, given that this was the Australian Open match, given that Zverev hasn't had a good year. He played very well. Things could have changed, but for Zverev to have a level that's close-ish to the very best, I think is something good to think about.
Yeah, with Zverev, I think a lot of the time, obviously, has been the question mark about him maybe pushing the ball or not going after his shots in these matches against Sinner, Alcaraz, Djokovic, these big matches. But I think on Sunday he very much did. He played a little bit more aggressively. He struck the forehand a little bit more, tried to take initiative a bit more, coped fairly well with Sinner's variety. Sinner played a lot of drop shots and stuff, which is he obviously alluded to the US Open, that he was going to try and use more variety. And Zverev coped with a lot of it. It was just down the final stretch, for all the praise of his performance, and he did play well, you've got Sinner who's cramping at 3-all and 4-3, and Zverev served first and just never quite put the full like hammer down on Sinner and really, really won those key points. Like, Sinner was just like the big rallies again, Sinner would find a way. And I don't know if there's not too much to blame on how Zverev played, but I think the scar tissue is just so big that at that end of that match, if you ask 90% of people, I think even at 5-all when Sinner looked like he was struggling, you still probably think that he's going to claw his way through because he's won so many finals, because winning is a habit. Losing those matches becomes a habit. But it was, really impressive compared to Australia.
Yeah, and I think too with Sinner, like it wasn't his best performance, but it was good to see him dig deep in a physical match and problem solve. That's the luxury, Sam, of being so good at your sport, is that we kind of haven't seen him have to do that. So from a fan's perspective, it was kind of cool to see. And I say this about other sports too. When great players aren't at their best, you can use Rafa as a great example historically in tennis. Finding a way is pretty cool to see the performance when he's cramping. How can he alter his game? How can he figure out a way to beat a very game opponent? And down a set, Sinner did just that and was able to find a way late in the third.
Yeah, I think he's brave as well, because he is implementing what he said he would do post Alcaraz defeat at the US Open, which was, he's done stuff with his serve, tweaked his serve, which it had to improve a little bit. Hadn't been great. I think it'd be under 55% his first serves in the 3 or 4 matches previous that he played against Alcaraz, apart from the Wimbledon final. He's also, using the drop shot, trying to come into the net more, especially in the early rounds that I've covered him in Beijing and Vienna. He has adapted. But to do that in the first or second round or third round is different to doing it, against Zverev in a final, and he's still stuck to it. And I think it's just going to make him a more complete player, obviously, longer term. But he's won 21 matches now indoors in a row. And the US Open final was.
I saw that stat. I saw that stat, which is funny. And also, I didn't realize McEnroe won 47. Like, he didn't lose an indoor hardcourt match for like 9 years.
Yeah,
so it's a different time, but I'm with you though. I think changes are important for Sinner to make, and something I just thought about now. It is one thing to do it in the first or second round. It's another thing to do it in the final. It's also another thing to do it against a player that's in the top 10 that you're going to see again in big matches. Obviously, the goal is to beat Alcaraz, but you're talking about players that, like a Zverev, like a Shelton, Draper, Djokovic, what have you, Taylor Fritz, players that you don't want to really give confidence to. So to be able to do that and kind of adjust and rely on new parts of your game that aren't as experienced is another mature part of Jannik Sinner.
Yeah, because Zverev, obviously, talent-wise, is probably, well, the world ranking suggests it as well, probably the third best player behind those two. So to have the bravery to do it in those moments. I just worry still slightly with Sinner physically, because he's cramping there after not a too taxing run to the final. He's playing 2 hours into the final, and he's cramping a little bit. And I don't know if it's pressure, nerves, whether it's all physical. I know Shanghai was different because it was so humid, so I understand that a little bit more. But I'm still a little bit. That's like the one question mark you can have over Sinner.
Right.
Really, I know he's got question marks over trying to improve his variety, but generally his game is almost faultless, really, and he'll want to involve it still. But that physical side of it, it's a slight concern, would you say, Mitch, going into this period of the season when he's playing Paris, he's going to play in Turin, obviously. Turin's a massive event for him at home. There's still quite a lot of tennis to play.
And that's part of the schedule thing where there's, not playing Davis Cup and there's certain parts of it, but with how physical the game is and what his goals are, I'm only worried. Like the question you pose, am I worried? I'm only worried because he's chasing Carlos Alcaraz.
Yeah.
Like that's the worry, is that what's going to happen in a 5-set physical matchup that goes late if you're having to have these issues in 3-set matches. So, but it's hard to argue with results, right? Like if he's playing against a player not named Carlos Alcaraz, you're never going to be fully worried. I mean, Zverev, look at it's like Sinner's record against outside the top 20. He is literally unbeatable, not virtually, but literally. So the consistency for Sinner has always been the mark of him over Alcaraz. He's had that edge in the check column. But yeah, it's a concern because it's been part of his past the whole way up. Even before he became the Jannik Sinner we know, he had struggles with physicality and, cramping issues.
Yeah, and the more he kind of experiments a little bit, and this is not being disrespectful to the rest of the tour, but the more he kind of experiments in opening rounds and stuff, maybe the more he will, drop a set here or there, and then he'll go a little bit longer on court through that, because when he's just, baseline grinding away, he does seem to win in straight sets. It doesn't become an issue. But if he's playing in Melbourne this year, well, next year, sorry, thankfully not this year, we get a bit of an off-season.
Pretty much next year, this year, yeah.
If he's playing in Melbourne in January, for example, and he's obviously thinking about Alcaraz way ahead in the final, and then he spends 3-4 matches experimenting and drops 3 or 4 sets, he might come to that final with maybe 3, 4, 5 more hours of tennis in his legs, for example, because of those little tweaks, maybe playing a little bit longer, and then that could impact him then if the match goes 4 sets, 5 sets against Alcaraz. But you have to evolve as a player. I think it's really good that he's changing stuff. It's just Alcaraz is a physical beast, a bit like Rafa was, or in his prime. So maybe comparing him to how Alcaraz is unfair. But yeah, a little slight concern.
We shall see. More with Sam Jacot here on the Inside in Tennis podcast. We're talking all the storylines as 2025 rounds up and wraps up here on the podcast, as we want to give a shout out to some of the women last week that won titles. Belinda Bencic being one of them, Sam. A big title in Japan, beating Linda Noskova, who makes her second final again. Unfortunately for her, unable to claim the trophy. But for Bencic, it's been part of a bigger picture of her growth, right? She has a maternity leave, starts a family, and after the birth of her child is able to keep it going with the deep run at Wimbledon and some great successful results, and really just smothering Noskova, who's a very talented player in the finals. So shout out to Belinda Bencic, who's still in her 20s and very much a factor in the top of the women's game.
Yeah, I think so impressive to come back from, time out, maternity leave, and then just put together such a strong year. She started it with the title Abu Dhabi, and then to kind of bookend it with another title at a big event in Tokyo is, so impressive. And she's just on the cusp of the top 10. I think she's playing in Hong Kong. I saw this week, maybe she can try and finish year-end top 10, which would be pretty astonishing, really, considering she had that time off. But like Bencic is just the longevity factor, really, with Bencic, because I was looking back her past results. She played the Tokyo final like 10 years ago. I saw when she played. And she's saying, she's 28, and she's just been around. It feels like, I know there's a lot of the WTA stars, like Coco Gauff being the prime example, they break through really early, so they maybe are around a long time and they're still only late 20s. But yeah, it's impressive that she's kind of the different waves in her career, and takes the maternity leave off and then comes back, and it was really impressive all week from what I saw. Obviously, didn't cover it directly being ATP, but I watched some of the highlights of her matches, and against Noskova, she's complete control, really. I thought for large portions, but the longevity aspect of her is really, really, really good.
Such a smart tennis player is Belinda Bencic too. So she is just very, very astute out there on the court, and longevity is crazy, and we'll see some great tennis ahead. And not in sight for her. The other story in Japan, and I know you were following this from a distance, but Rybakina qualifying for the finals, literally up into the last match. And I would use the term chase down because that's how the rankings were. She chased down Mirra Andreeva to claim that last spot. Andreeva left the door open, but it took Rybakina beating a pair of talented Canadians back-to-back to do it. Leylah Fernandez and Victoria Mboku. Full props to Elena Rybakina, Sam, for setting her mind on this goal and getting it, because it was not easy. She had to claw her way through, win the title the week before, and then find a way to beat talented players. And there she is back in the WTA Finals. Yeah,
she literally, she qualified, didn't she? And then she just said, that's it, I'm out. I think she had a genuine injury, but it's good to see. She had such a great second half to the year, really. If you think about semi-finals, I think she made in Montreal and then Cincinnati as well. US Open, pretty solid fourth round, which maybe could do better. But such a strong finish to the year. I know Andreeva kind of left the door open, but it's still another thing to go and get those points. And when the pressure's on to win a title and then get your 2 wins that you need in Tokyo, it's great. And I think the finals, the lineup looks really, really exciting for next week in Saudi, and she deserves it. Andreeva will be obviously disappointed, but she's so young, so like again maybe it's part of the process where you're going to have dips. Like she flew out the blocks this year, and then she fell away a little bit, which is a shame for her.
Two points there is Rybakina belongs. Like it feels more proper that she's in the tour finals, because she's been one of the top at least 8, if not much higher, players in the game for a while. I don't know. I'm on the outside, like a lot of people, just an observation. But it seems to me like young, talented Mirra Andreeva could use maybe a little break. Like could just use a reset, mentally, physically, whatever it is. And you said it, right? so young, so many more opportunities. I think it'll be good to her to have just a reset period.
Yeah, because the tour, obviously, if you play the finals, that takes you to mid-November, and then you come back for your pre-season in second week of December. So at least this way it gives her an extra couple of weeks off. And yeah, I wouldn't be overly concerned. Obviously, disappointing at the time, but probably would benefit her longer term. And then you've seen Alison who's going to be in the finals. What a break did for her. Obviously, this year you've covered her a lot because she's just been winning so much. But yeah, just I'm excited about that event. It feels like some big WTA tour is in a great position at the moment. Some real big names, some big stars. But that feels like quite heavy. Sabalenka's Swiatek, Goff, Anisimova, Jessica Pegula, Keys. Is Keys definitely going to play us, or some question marks around?
Yeah, she's there, I believe. I mean, and Andreeva will be the alternate, but then you have Paulini too, who is kind of the counter to everything, which I love. I mean, I love it, but it's just, gives up a lot of size, which we love to see.
Really good event. And I know there's obviously Saudi Arabia, there's been in the news again this week with the Masters event, and there's obviously mixed feelings or different viewpoints on tennis in Saudi, which I understand. I guess a positive is the WTA Finals for a few years was being moved here, there, and everywhere. Like I have colleagues at the ATP who kind of cover, not so much now, but worked WTA and ATP. Our social media head of social media, she covered both events, so she was in Cancun, and then
that one.
Just talking about the setup just not being good enough. So at least with Riyadh, at least they've got a professional, a good setup. So that is a positive, I guess.
The people in Fort Worth did a very good job. They tried their best, and they did what they could on short notice. So marks to them. The Cancun edition was, there's no other way to say it. It was just an abomination across the board in terms of just the conditions, the court, and I use the analogy, Sam, these are the best players in the world. It's like checking into a 5-star hotel. You've worked so hard to get to this point. This is the tour finals. You expect the quality to be at a standard that was unfortunately not met in Cancun. So they deserve the best because they've proven they are the best throughout the course of a season.
Yeah, and it just from if I'm putting my my work hat on for ATP, working for the website and with our social channels. If you spend a year also trying to promote this event, you want to have a location where they're going to. You can say about fighting to get to Turin or Riyadh. That helps as well, I think, with just building hype around the event, because the poor players didn't really get that because we're not sure where it is. So that is a positive with them having a settled venue. Yeah, let's hope it's a really good week.
I know that was part of the problem before we had Lindsay Davenport, who's as locked in as anyone on Tennis Channel, saying there's been no set plans that year. They didn't even have 4 months of promotion. So it's good that it's settled into a nice location that the players can be compensated as well. The Saudi Arabia Masters, though, and you bring that up, though, it's going to be, taking place coming up, regardless of the location, that's another discussion. But the fact that there's going to be another tournament, the discussion of schedules, it's going to be a lucrative tournament. But I wonder, with not just the schedule and the mandatory side of things, Sam, but we're altering the calendar, and there's that buyback program, right? There's unfortunately tournaments that are going to go by the wayside. We don't know what they are yet, but that's part of the unfortunate side of this. Yeah,
the schedule needs, obviously, speaking on my sort of own viewpoint on it, needs to be adjusted. There is a lot of tennis, and you can see it with the burnout in, I guess, last week in Basel, Vienna, the retirements, especially Felix retired because he's chasing, and Casper Ruud, because they're obviously chasing dream places, so playing a lot, playing the 250, playing there. So there has to be kind of a change. Adding this obviously is another extra week. So aspects that will have to go. I hope the South American region doesn't lose out. I think they're so passionate over there with the events we've got in Rio de Janeiro, Buenos Aires. They love tennis, packed stadiums, and they've got, Argentina have got loads of guys in the top 100, and Brazil have got phenomenon in Fonseca. So I hope that area stays safe. But it's not a simple process in terms of, it's quite complicated with contracts, what you can buy back, when you can buy them back, how long contracts are for, what deals are for. So it's not a case of, in terms of the general picture of shortening the schedule, it's not just a case of, well, in 2 years we'll just, we'll take 10 weeks off the calendar. It just can't work like that.
I've thought about this for a little bit too, because part of the reason why you don't want to, the counter to shortening the schedule and eliminating tournaments is just that regions of the world get tennis for 1 week a year. You don't want them to lose that and access to the game and what that can mean. I don't know if it's as simple as just like what Carlos was saying in the media. Why are there so many mandatories? Why do you have to play an event? I think, and Djokovic had the counter to that, like you can just skip the bonus pool. I think there might be a way to work it to where there's tournaments that are out there, and if you want to backload the season with smaller events, I think there might be a way to figure out, and this is for someone much smarter than me, a way to keep tournaments, keep the events around the world, but not require players and not have so much at stake if you don't play in those events.
Yeah, because with the ATP 500 bonus pool, there's the requirement that the guys play. I think a couple of 500s in the February swing. They have to play one maybe in Rotterdam. That Doha, Dubai period, they have to play a couple on the clay bit, and then maybe one on the grass. And I think it's a couple again at this time of year. I have it somewhere saved, because I need to know it for work. But it is tough when you have to kind of go and play in Vienna or Basel or I think it's linked with Beijing and Tokyo. You have to play in one of them, and then if you don't, you lose out on your bonus pool money or you get reduction. So there probably has to be some flexibility around that if they want to add a Saudi Masters and continue to keep a lot of the other events and keep other tournament directors happy, keep tournaments happy, keep contracts in place, keep fans happy from different areas of the world. So it's not simple, but there has to be some kind of tweak, I think, and I think there will be. I think there will be from different things I've heard.
Well, we'll see as the wheels on the bus just keep going round and round in this tennis world. Well, I did want to say the last tournament that we didn't talk about so far, shout out to American Ann Lee winning Guangzhou, beating Lulu Sun, second title of her career, biggest one so far, and just showing you her game, her ability as an athlete, and the depth of American women's tennis, Sam, another one that's just having a great year.
Yeah, I think it's the eighth woman from America to win a title this year.
That's right, yeah.
Sure, first one since 2021, and then up to career now 33, so... Yeah, there is so much talent in American women's tennis right now, and I really, really, really like for her. To win a title, and I guess it's special when you haven't won one in 4 years. It's special. It doesn't matter. People say, "Oh, it's 250 level or whatever," and there's like a tennis snobbery where a lot of fans, because they haven't got time, I guess, just kind of focus on masters and slams and stuff. But winning at 250 is great. I love the 250 weeks. So
yeah. She also had like a no reaction. It was great. Like she had a Rybakina reaction when she won, which was perfect. Acting like she's been there before. She is ranked 33, 8th highest ranked American woman, and with Ivajovic at 36, that's 9 in the top 40. So there's your depth.
Strength and depth, and obviously they've got 3 at the finals next week with Goff, Keys, Pegula. So
and Anisimova,
and
4. Half the field.
Half the field, yeah, of course. Wow. So really, really strong position. The American women's players have been sort of leading the light out of the women's and men's for a while now, and can the men kind of replicate it? Fritz and Shelton to an extent, but really good to see.
We're on quite a streak too. I think 5 straight major finals where there's been a woman in there, so American woman in there, so pretty exciting. Finishing up the podcast here with Sam Jacot on the Inside in Tennis podcast. We're looking ahead now to the ATP Paris Masters that are just started, and you want to timestamp this for recording on a Tuesday morning, so just some initial thoughts of things that we've seen so far and storylines as we go ahead. Sam, Valentin Vacherot just destroyed Yuri Lehechka this morning. He was an underdog sizably. He lost 4 games in this match. He sets up another matchup with his cousin Arthur Rinderknecht next round, which is insane. But so much for the fall back to earth, right? Because it wasn't just this. It was last week in Basel, giving Taylor Fritz one heck of a match. He looked great today. This doesn't appear to be flash in the pan yet. He hasn't woken up from his dream, if that's the case just yet. He's still looking very good and like he's going to be a seeded player very soon.
Yeah, very, very good. From what I saw of the Lehechka match today, just big hitting really, and indoor conditions are clearly suiting him. I think obviously he made that massive jump, just talking generally about him from 204 up to number 40 in the world. And actually, once you get into the top, 100, top 80, top 50, it's not too challenging to really stay there. You just need to put a couple of good weeks together on the tour, easier said than done still, but a 250 run or a couple of finals here and there to kind of stay within sort of where you are. So I think I don't see him falling away, and he's just high on momentum, but he's also got so much quality to back it up. And I'm thinking, I'm just surprised because where has he been in terms of
No.
I with my work at the ATP, I cover the obviously the Monte Carlo Masters, but I kind of run their website for the week. So I've seen him, out in Monte Carlo a fair bit because he always gets a wild card, and he just looked a completely different player when I was watching him in Shanghai. Just bigger ball striking, and I don't think it's just a confidence thing, but something's clicked. Rinderknech next, which will be fun. I think he could play Alcaraz if he gets through that. I think is the draw if Alcaraz beats Cam Norrie. Obviously, will be outdated a little bit because Alcaraz is playing later. But great to see him win.
Yeah, it's great. What a thing. We're projecting his draw now. It's awesome. He's just moving up. So, that was exciting. We saw a couple Canadians in action. Joao Fonseca beats Denis Shapovalov, second straight tournament. Shapovalov retired again in Basel. It was Fonseca in 3, so he follows off the tournament win and gets right back to action against a tough opponent and wins. Another maturity thing for Joao. And then Felix in 3 sets. Big implications there because officially only 4 players have qualified for the ATP Finals, and we know Djokovic is floating, so Felix is trying to stay in the game. Needed that one, got it, and staying alive. It'd be good if he got to the finals. There's no guarantees, but the door is firmly open for Felix.
Yeah, Felix would be great indoors because, he is a great indoor player. I think he's won more matches indoors than anyone else this decade, because I saw that stat about an hour ago when I did his match. 79 indoor wins this decade, more than anyone else. And it'll be his second appearance in Turin if he gets there. Still a lot of work to do. The gap to Musetti as we record is 440 points. Musetti plays on Wednesday in Paris. I think Fritz and Shelton will be fine. They'll be in Turin. De Minaur looks pretty close as well. Felix will need to have a deep run. It depends on Djokovic as well, doesn't it? If Djokovic doesn't play, then Felix he's really set because Casper Ruud's a little bit further back. Draper and Holger Rune are out injured. So, the race is fairly tense, but also could be over within a day. Felix falls next. He just needs to keep winning. And that is the tough bit because he's played Brussels, won a 250, then gone to Basel, retired in the quarterfinals. Now he's getting himself going through Paris. It is a lot. It is a lot on him. He's kept himself alive for now. So we'll see.
The other notes I have on results of the day: Moutet over Opelka in 3. Moutet is buzzing, playing some good tennis on home soil. We had a couple crazy incidents yesterday. We had Bublik and Poprin get a little spicy, no handshake at the net there. And we also had, I'm sure you saw the clip of Bergs doing the moonwalk after he won as Mickelson was smashing his racket into smithereens. No bad blood there, just frustration. No bad blood between the two. But it's been a pretty tense start to the Paris Indoor Masters.
Yeah, Mickelson is proper, a very competitive, pumped up guy. He's so nice. I know him a little bit. Just because he's played next gen, so those guys I know quite well. They're not my best mates, but I know them fairly well. And he just always comes across as very competitive, and he's had a little bit of a disappointing kind of few months. So that one hurt against Bergs, but cinematic where you could just see his racket get absolutely destroyed with Bergs. The celebration for Bergs, so good behind him. Also want to shout out Grigor Dimitrov, who just came back from his injury post Wimbledon and won first round against Petri Perikar. So always nice to see Dimitrov on the tour. He's very popular with ATP social media team and us on the website. So good to see him. Good to see him back too.
Yeah, that was great for him. You always wonder and worry too, an athlete at that age coming off of an injury. We hadn't seen him since Wimbledon, the unfortunate situation leading against Sinner, what he was going to have physically, but he looked the part, right? And it was maybe a testament to just how athletic and how hard he trained to get back to this point. Because Grigor, you just want to see, and I know he's not as old as some of the other veterans that are still going. Monfils is announcing his last year will be next year. Stan's going to keep playing Djokovic, obviously, but Dimitrov is getting up there, so it's good to see him back and looking spry for as long as it is.
Yeah, my colleague's in Paris. He's the lucky one that got sent
Yeah.
this week rather than me. So he spoke to Grigor at the weekend, and Dimitrov was basically just saying how buzzing he is to be back on tour, like around it all with the other guys. There was a clip of him seeing Sinner, like meeting Sinner in the locker room or whatever. I think he just loves the fact that he's on tour again. Because it is low, like when you're on tour and you're playing each week. I feel it like a fraction when I travel for 2, 3, 4 weeks in a row, and you're around like this real buzz, and then you come out of that, and for a player, it can feel tough at times. Like they say that you're a bit isolated, you're not quite sure what to do with yourself. Obviously, you do your rehab, but there's so much camaraderie on tour that just being off that can impact it. So I'm pleased just for him, just from a mental aspect, to get this event in before the end of the year, which then he can hopefully rest, prep again, and come back in January really strong.
Well, the last thing on Paris, I mean, we'll see. It could be dated, but I kind of doubt that by the time this posts. But is it just all things going to a inevitable Sinner Alcaraz final? Because when they play in the same tournament in 2025, that is just what happens.
Yeah, you think so on paper, but neither of them have won the title, so that is at least an interesting aspect. They've won. Alcaraz or Sinner have won all the other 8 Masters, both of them or one of them, but Paris is the one that neither have. So, Alcaraz would be my favourite just because Sinner's obviously had that big week in Vienna, physically not 100%. Courts are slower this week in Paris, which Alcaraz said he loves. He wants them to be a bit slower, so again, probably plays a little bit into his hands. So, yeah, but I just hope that we, can we get a Fritz title? Can we get Medvedev's been playing a lot better, but something a little bit different to end the year. I hope maybe, but you're probably looking at Alcaraz Sinner. Shelton's playing today, but he's just come back and he's not looks a little bit undercooked. So see how he goes. But yeah,
some variety might be good. We'll see who can step up, or if it's just the 2 big dogs at the top in the end, like it's been all season. Well, Sam Jacot, ATP writer, this has been fun. What do you have on the docket? Traveling to ATP Finals and also Next Gen again. But what else? What else you got going on to conclude 2025?
Yeah, so Turin's for 2 weeks coming up quite soon. So that's a very full-on event for us, which would be great. And hopefully Alcaraz Sinner final there. That would be a nice way to round the year. And then don't really get a break because Jeddah comes around mid-December. I'll fly out to Saudi, and there's kind of prep work we're doing, promotional stuff for those guys, qualifying the players. So yeah, I won't really get a break until the Christmas week, and then I will take a break, and then it'll be United Cup. But I'm not going to Australia this year, so decide not to be back on the road in Feb.
Right, proper break, well deserved. That's Sam Jacot. He does phenomenal work for the ATP. Check out his columns and his long form journalism, especially. Sam, this was fun. Always a pleasure. Can't wait till next time. Thanks for coming on the Inside In Tennis podcast.
Yeah, thanks, Mitch. As always, great stuff.
That was Sam Jacot. This was the Inside In Tennis podcast. Again, it is available on your podcast platform of choice, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeart, or somewhere else. Just search Inside In Tennis podcast. Download the episode. Subscribe so you get every episode automatically downloaded. And if you are so kind, leave a rating and a review. We're also available in full video form. The episodes are on the YouTube channel at Mitch Michals, where you can also find some YouTube shorts. The entire catalog of our outstanding guests are on YouTube and your podcast platform. So make sure you check out that as we round up and look ahead to 2026. But before that, we'll have great interviews, great analysis with players, coaches, and people in and around the game, the great game of tennis. So for Sam Jacot, I'm Mitch Michals. This was the Inside In Tennis podcast. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.